Hello, everyone, and greeting from Torino. My name is Laura Vigo, and I'm curator for Asian art and curator appointed for the exhibition Buddha10 at the Museum of Oriental Art in Torino. We are here together with Davide Quadrio, the director of the museum, and Lorenzo Ercoli, who's a designer for the company that followed the immersive experience, AR experience that we did of the Tianlongshan Cave 17 in the Buddha10 show. So I'll pass the mic to Davide, who's going to introduce you the museum, and then we'll go from there. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Laura. Hello, everybody. I'm very pleased to be here. It's a pleasure to report to you what has been a year-long project that somehow put Mao, this is the name of the museum, is the Museum of Oriental Art, located in Turin. Buddha10 is something that we've been really working on for some times now. And the Tianlongshan project has been crucial for us to change the perspective of the museum itself. The Mao is actually it's a very recent founded museum. It was founded in 2008, so extremely late in general, and is in this beautiful palace in the heart of Turin, Palazzo Mazzonis, which is an 18th century palace. And it was founded by Professor Ricca from the city of Turin, out of a personal passion of Asian art. So it brought together several collections that were already present in the city, but also both new and exciting pieces, especially from the Himalaya region and from Japan, mainly. It's an interesting museum in terms of what it contains, but also how it was brought together. So it's a collection of many collections, and all through the eye of a personal interest of Professor Ricca. So this is actually what brought into attention to Laura and me that is what actually brought us into this idea of working on the collection itself, but also on the site and what it means to have this collection in Turin, why it comes here, how to look at the collection. And doing so, we've been really trying to transform the museum, the perception of the museum, and it's been an incredible adventure. But at the same time was also, and it's only a year that since I've been elected director of the museum. And so what is interesting is really how the perception of the museum changed. The museum was put together in a very sort of generally, I can say, historical way and geographical structure. So you have Southeast Asia, you have China, you have Japan, you have a little of what is called Islamic whole, you have the Himalayan section, and then you have also spaces for temporary exhibitions, which offers to the museum a possibility and outlet for particular projects. And so Buddha10 is the exhibition that allowed us to take part of the collection that have been brought to the attention of the public for the last 20 years almost. And it was the great excuse, to really show to the public and to the scientific and academic audiences, what it means to work in a contemporary tense in a museum like this. So it became somehow an experimental site. And because everything is about activating the collection through exhibitions and performances. And one of the first things that we did was really to create a manifesto of what I've just said, to really relocate the attention of what a museum of Asian art in this case is. And I just read it to you because I think it's very pertinent to what is going to be then described in the presentation. of the Tianlongshan project within the context of the exhibition Buddha10. So some of the function of the museum, the museum is an opportunity to create and expand content and research. A protagonist in a global network that explores the potential of enhancing group of works of Asian art in a European international context. A social place for encounters, a center for experimentation that works in triangulation between the conservation, production, and evolution of activities carried out in respect of the environment and system ecology. And we call, this perspective on the museum Mao Tempo Presente, or present tense. I think what Laura and Lorenzo will show and how we work on the Tianlongshan project will give you a very precise example of the attitude and the way that we've been considering working in the museum. So without further ado, I think I will let Laura to take it from here to explain to you how we address the collection of Buddhist sculptures from China that we had in our warehouse has never been shown. So how we work to bring part of the collection out, to analyze that, to study that, but also to offer that to the public in a sort of extraordinary way, I think. So Laura, I think I give it to you. And
thank you, Davide.
Yes, and I hope that everybody enjoys this exciting project. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So in fact, as Davide just mentioned, with the exhibition Buddha10, Mao tried to embark on a new experimental phase that integrates programming where exhibitions should serve both as tools and platforms. What does that mean? So originally prompted by the idea of showcasing Mao's neglected collection of Chinese Buddhist culture, the exhibition seeks, on one hand, to look at Buddhist material culture from a decolonial perspective, while also bringing conservation science to the fore, especially when stylistic and provenance analysis would fail. And also, the concept tackles issues of translocation and how the Eurocentric canon influenced our perspective on Asian material culture. So on the other end, the project offered especially a timely opportunity to reach out to new partners like you in Chicago, abroad, with whom to share and discuss critical issues concerning Asian art collecting in Italy and Europe and also elsewhere, as well as new ways of digital mediation and visual integration, as our presentation with Lorenzo Ercoli today would clearly show. So the format of the exhibition, which was open in October last year and will end in September this year, has been conceived open-ended and multi-layered. So that leaves us room for progression in time and space for further contribution and ad hoc intervention and alteration. So Buddha10 has just been reloaded today or tomorrow, I don't know. We have added new content and artworks, and along the way provided new information on the construction and reconstruction of ancient sculptures. So starting with questions and aiming to only partially answer them, Buddha10 offers, and is still offering, a platform for multiple interpretation for scientific research and discovery, where Buddhism and its visual and material representations through time and space remain the point of departure for further inquiry. Buddha10 seeks to introduce local public to issues related to Western consumption of non-Western art. In this case, it was the case of Buddhist material culture. The exhibition is arranged thematically and diachronically in galleries punctuated by different visual and material examples, some brought in as a focus of open-ended scientific analysis, other, as we shall see, providing an opportunity for immersive experience, such as the first room that you see here in the slide. The display tackled the displacement and decontextualization of ritual and religious objects, reclaiming part of their lost subjectivity by creating a sensorial immersive experience, awakened by the soundscape created by the transnational artist musician of Chinese origins, Amos Fair, that you see here on the right, or by the scent of the temple's hall, which was synthesized to evoke the lost space, where these cultures were originally venerated and activated. We partnered up with several Italian museums for this exhibition, such as the Museum of Civilization in Rome, Muciv, and the Museum of Oriental Art, Eduardo Chiossone in Genoa. They lent us some extraordinary piece. In this picture, the almost forgotten Auriti collection of Chinese votive statuettes, dating from the 6th to the 10th century Common Era, once studied by Alexandre de Soper in 1954 and rarely exhibited thereafter. In most cases, all didactic panels were conceived for the screen, as you can see at the back of the vitrine in the photo. The LED walls proved to be a formidable tool in conveying the message to the audience, clear and succinct, but always integrated with videos and close-ups. Our videographer, Alessandro Muner, produced over 45 minutes of video and text. And while in general, visitors tend to ignore, as we know in the museum world, long didactic panels and labels, for this exhibition, curiously enough, they often ended up watching the entire content. So that is the power of the moving image. When the sculptures were rescued for oblivion, they were found in a very poor state of conservation and in need of extensive cleaning and repair. But as they say, when life gives you lemon, we turn this problem into an opportunity and a challenge, for sure. And we decided to reach out to external collaborators, taking advantage of their scientific expertise to further our understanding of traditional Chinese sculptures making and sometimes remaking. So the restoration of the sculpture has been carried out by Dono and Soci and Venaria Reale Restoration Center, one of Italy's leading centers of restoration and conservation, which is located on the outskirts of Turin. This heterogeneous group of sculptures thus provided a timely opportunity for Mao and especially Venaria Reale Restoration Center to explore the materiality and the authenticity of these objects through XRF, UV and X-rays, analysis of pigments, analysis of the wood species, and modes of production. So Politecnico Torino also created 3D modeling, a very interesting CT scans of each sculpture, rendering visible what is normally invisible to the eye. To further emphasize the issue of restoration and conservation, some of the artworks have been restored live in the gallery, as you can see here one image from the restoration live, enlarging so the discussion to the public and prompting question on different ways in which one should intervene on an ancient Buddhist sculptures and how scientific approach to conservation can still be based somehow on emotional decision, informed more often than ever by a Western-centric aesthetic paradigm related to the moment in which the intervention is being carried out. Buddha10 was developed around four main semantic axes. While a general information on the use, artistic and religious context for each work was provided for the audience, quite unfamiliar with Buddhist iconography, as you can imagine in an Italian context, we sought to raise questions related to the museification of such vestiges and how we look at them as external gazers. One was, as mentioned before, the idea of performativity and rituality that was explored with the theme subject and object, that also sought to capture, or at least evoke, some of the lost animacy of the sculptures, now inert objects behind a museum glass. We also question how these objects ended up in front of us in Turin. All these religious vestiges morphed from religious icons to museum objects when they were endowed with new meaning, intrinsically entangled with East Asian imperialism and deeply informed by the early 20th century international art market. That also brought in question the idea of exotic consumption, the exoticism, the main motivation behind collecting Buddhist sculptures and not just in Italy, as well as behind a visual and surface transformation to adapt to different tastes and foreign aesthetics. And last but not least, again related to the transnational market and the drive for the exotic, we looked at some works that may have been, let's say, fashioned to appeal to the Western eye. True or false is about the issue of authenticity, replication, and forgery altogether. Related to the axis of circulation and translocation mentioned in the previous slide was the the augmented reality immersive experience created around the two heads from Tianlongshan, which we borrowed from the collection of the Museum of the Civilization, the Muciv in Rome, They were originally part of a diplomatic gift given by the Japanese baron Kaichiro Nezu to the Italian government in 1941. The two heads, chopped off from respectively the body of a Buddha and that of a Bodhisattva from case 17, allowed us to talk about the extremely violent deturpation of Tianlongshan caves in the first decades of the 20th century, when hundreds of fragments of the once incredibly wealthy religious site in Shanxi were flooded in the transnational market, as you all know, probably. The Tianlongshan Cave project, TCP, initiated by the University of Chicago in 2013, has already identified 160 fragments in museums worldwide, of which 119 are in Japan and Western museums. So the Center of East Asia at Chicago University, Professor Wu Hong, Dr. Catherine Tiang, graciously allowed us to partner up to provide an unusual immersive experience, which was curated and produced by our partner, QZR. Being physically unable to gather other vestiges coming from the same cave, we were nevertheless able to have access to the 3D model of one head currently at the Nelson Atkins Museum of Art in Kansas City, and the one from the Rydberg Museum, Zurich, in Switzerland. And as with this, I'll pass the mic to Lorenzo, who will actually explain better the AR experience that they created for Mao. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Laura. Hi, my name is Lorenzo, and I am a designer at QZR Studio. QZR is a communication and web development studio based in Lucca, Tuscany. We work between graphic design and technology development with a strong focus on experimental web applications. We are also interested in digital installation, immersive and cross-media narratives, working with VR and AR technology. The project Cave 17 Tianlongshan represents an additional step in our research on the relationship between art and technology. The experience of a virtual place, a place different and distant from both Mao's installation context, and the original cave from which the sculptural heads came, proposing an essential digital otherness. Indeed, it was exciting for us to collaborate with Mao and the University of Chicago to pursue this research, and in which art and technology converge. Installation Cave 17 focuses on the importance of the relationship between the digital and analog worlds, relating the sculptural heads in the room to AR interaction. The experience is triggered by framing markers on the ground through a web application reachable from users' mobile devices. The goal was not to represent the totality of the cave, proposing all of the sculptures, but to emphasize the act of subtraction of the statues through the digital technology available to us, an attempt to precisely reflect on the violent act of desecration and appropriation. The graphical manipulation of 3D models created by the University of Chicago was designed to exalt the aesthetic of technology itself, simplifying the shape of the models until they become polygonal subjects. It is the user who then has the opportunity to discover this most real model by approaching it. Thanks to this, the user experience becomes interactive and exploratory, representing the relationship between the analog and digital worlds in a stimulating way. And in this sense, our intervention focused on copying an object from the original, manipulating and reinterpreting it through the use of technology to create a new and engaging artistic experience. The mission was to entice the visitor to reflect on the themes of art, manipulation, interpretation, appropriation, and digital technologies. The installation consisted of two ancient Buddhist heads placed on black stands and backpress markers on the ground that activated the digital content. Through a designated website, the visitor could access augmented reality visualization with the camera of their mobile devices. Visitors could frame the markers and view digital models of the two statues that were not present in the room, but kept in the other museum. But were once part of the sculptural group in the original cave. It was necessary to approach the markers to activate the AR experience, somehow mimicking the act of treasure hunting, like smuggling and secrecy. The AR experience involved displaying 3D models of two statues lowered inside a digital hole. It is up to the visitor to get closer to investigate through the device, which somehow becomes a flashlight and illuminates the virtual object kept underground. The video presentation featured along with the installation present the 3D model of Cave 17, as well as a curatorial text reflecting on the history and the violent act of appropriation and illicit trafficking this Buddhist site was subjected to. In this way, the historical context and the significance of the works as a whole could be better understood. The application we designed for this project is a website that, using the camera of the mobile device, recognizes markers placed on the ground and generates an AR situation. The solution was designed to make the viewing experience accessible simply by accessing a web page, without the need to download specific applications. The web application offers many advantages, such as easy accessibility and instant visualization of augmented reality. The project was designed to be able to involve and in a possible documentation phase of the exhibition, allow the experience to be reactivated in the other media as well, such as printed publications or informational leaflets. The site uses JavaScript library such as 3JS and ARJS, which enable the creation of highly fluid and immersive reality installations. This library were developed to be fast and practical in the context of the web and mobile devices. Our goal through this solution is to create involved and immersive visitor experience through the use of user-friendly technologies, whether from enriching website or creating digital installations. Thank you.
Thank you, Lorenzo. And thank you, the audience, for listening to our little short presentation. I hope you've enjoyed it. I let Davide maybe say a few words before ending this.
I of course thank all the organization in the Chicago University and Catherine Chang and Wu Hong, of course, for being so open, and really supporting the project, even though, as Laura and Lorenzo knows, we've been working very hard on the show, but we had a very little time to do it. So the fact that they've been so responsive is been very precious to us, and we really are thankful for that. Of course, we are here in Turin. It's not that far away from Milan. It's actually very convenient. So I hope, to the audience, if they're gonna come to Italy in the near future, they can come and visit us, and it'd be fantastic to have other of the community to come over and to share experience as well. So I hope for a very good continuation, a fantastic work of a day of working on this incredible topics of new technologies in how actually experiences can be expanded by new technologies, in respect of the historical heritage. And I thank, of course, Lorenzo and Laura, because they've been incredible partners of this adventure, and it would not be possible without them. Thank you very much, and enjoy your day.
Bye.
Ciao.